January 1945. Camp Clinton, Mississippi. The wind gnawed through the barracks like ice on skin, carrying with it the faint scent of pine and damp earth. Outside the shower building, 3 German women huddled together, their uniforms stiff with weeks of unwashed filth, their breaths clouding the cold air. Greta Hoffmann's hands trembled as she clutched Liesel's, knuckles whitening under the grip. Rumors of American cruelty had preceded them, stories whispered during transport, recounted in the harsh cadence of military broadcasts, translated carefully into German by those who hoped the words were exaggeration. "Whatever happens," Greta whispered, almost to herself, "we don't scream." Liesel nodded, her jaw tight, eyes hollow yet resolute. Margaret Kessler, barely 19, muttered broken prayers, her voice thin and quivering. They had survived 6 weeks in transit, trapped in boxcars, starved, shivering, crawling with lice, surrounded by the constant stench of unwashed bodies pressed together in darkness. The door to the shower building swung open. Steam poured out like a living thing, swirling across the frozen ground. Greta froze. Not gas, not a trap. Water, heat, real heat. Sergeant Mary O'Connor, broad-shouldered and sharp-eyed, stood in the doorway. She gestured for them to enter. 20 minutes, hot water, clothes in the bin. Her English was deliberate, clear, leaving no room for misunderstanding. Inside, the room gleamed with unnatural cleanliness. White tiles reflected the harsh overhead lights. Wooden benches held stacks of folded towels, and bars of soap wrapped in delicate paper carried the faint, calming scent of lavender. Greta's mind fought against disbelief. This is real, no trick, no cruelty waiting behind the corners. The 3 women stepped into the steam. Greta reached for the shower head first. Water flowed hot and steady, searing yet comforting, washing away weeks of grime, fear, and disbelief. Behind her, Liesel gasped, a sound raw and elemental. Margaret lifted a towel, pressed it to her face, and began to cry quietly, as if the soft fabric were a tangible proof of mercy. Greta sank to the tiled floor, letting the water pour over her, feeling the filth and despair of 6 weeks swirl down the drain. Tears stung her eyes, but she did not care. The soap smelled like something that belonged to people, not propaganda or punishment. It smelled like hope. Outside, Sergeant O'Connor said nothing. She didn't need to. She had seen enough broken people find small miracles in simple kindness. She timed their 20 minutes and let them feel, truly feel, the unexpected humanity of strangers. Weeks turned into months, and the camp became a strange, unsteady haven. Greta began translating, cobbling together her English from years of intercepting Allied broadcasts and forbidden American literature she had secretly hoarded as a teenager. Liesel found her place in the infirmary, her hands remembering how to heal, even when her mind refused to reconcile the horrors she had witnessed. American medics treated German prisoners with the same care as their own soldiers. Corporal Eddie Santos, young, talkative, and unflinchingly human, showed her techniques she had never imagined: how to suture without leaving scars, how to care without judgment. Each lesson was a subtle reminder that the world was capable of more than cruelty. Margaret struggled. She clung to remnants of the propaganda that had built her adolescence: the rallies, the promises, the certainty that their cause was righteous. Then a Red Cross letter arrived. Her parents were gone, her home destroyed. The war had swallowed her past whole, leaving her alive and utterly alone. Mary O'Connor sat with her silently, a steadfast presence amid a world turned upside down. "Sometimes survival," O'Connor said quietly, "is all that can be victory." Spring arrived slowly, with the gentle rustle of pine needles and warm sunlight spilling across the camp.
News reached them filtered through official channels. Berlin was falling, the Reich crumbling. Letters came with stories of survival, of loved ones gone, of the impossible reality that the world they had known was ending. Greta read her sister's letter 3 times before she believed the words. "We are alive. We wait for you." Then the photographs came. Hartwell called the entire camp to the yard. Screens were erected. A projector clicked into life, and the truth unfolded mercilessly before them. Images from Auschwitz, Bergen-Belsen, Dachau. Mountains of bodies, children's shoes, hair, and glasses piled like offerings to something monstrous. Greta's stomach turned. She had known about camps, about relocation, but this was reality laid bare. Some prisoners denied it. Some raged. Others, like Liesel, retreated into silence. Margaret cried openly, staring at the floor in disbelief and shame. They had been told, and they had ignored it, believing in propaganda and lies, and now mercy had brought them to the undeniable truth. Eddie found Lisa later that evening, silently washing instruments in the infirmary. Her hands moved automatically, though her eyes glistened with tears. "Did you know?" he asked. "No. I swear I didn't." He said nothing more. Sometimes healing, he reminded her, was the only way forward. And for Liesel, it was enough. Fall came quietly. Repatriation began. Buses lined up to carry German prisoners home to a country that was no longer theirs. Some stayed behind, haunted by memories and lessons learned. Greta received a call from Hartwell. The Red Cross needed German translators to assist in refugee resettlement. She could sponsor her sister's family. She could help. "Why?" she asked. "After everything, why help us?" Hartwell's voice was steady, measured. "We don't fight wars to become what we hate. We fight so there is still something worth saving when the shooting stops." She accepted. Liesel would study medicine in America, determined to heal. Margaret returned to Germany, ready to educate a new generation on the truth, unflinching and uncompromising. The final morning at Camp Clinton found the 3 women in the shower building one last time. Not for cleanliness, but for remembrance. Steam curled around them like a protective veil. Greta ran her fingers across a folded towel, feeling the weight of mercy. "Someone thought we deserved this, even when we didn't. Maybe that's the point. Mercy isn't about deserving." They left together, stepping into the unknown, carrying the lessons of humanity they had been given, lessons of restraint, kindness, and courage amid a world determined to teach hatred. Years later, a letter arrived for Greta in New York. Inside was a photograph from Margaret. Children in a Munich classroom learning history, learning truth, alongside a pressed flower and 3 words, "We told the truth." And for the first time, Greta understood. Surviving was not enough. Witnessing, remembering, and teaching, that was the real act of resistance.